Welcome everyone to Old Roommates. Today on the show, we revisit 1993's Indecent Proposal. So, grab every last penny you have, jump in the car, hit the road to Vegas, sit back and check this new episode out.
Welcome everyone to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
And today we are revisiting Indecent Proposal from 1993. It was so indecent. What an indecent proposal it was. Brian, we begin this episode as we always do. We are going to talk about what our feelings, experience, relationship was with this movie way back when. Tell us, Brian.
I'll tell you. This movie came out in April of 1993. At the time, I was working at Disney World, part of a college program I did. I am pretty sure I saw this in the movie theater. Because it was I'm not one to brag. But there was only so much to do, and I'm trying to think if Rob even saw it with me. I feel like he'd remember. But I remember thinking this was boring and obvious and too long. I did think it was pretty. I thought Demi looked great, and I think that a lot of it, looked like very much like a perfume commercial, and Adrian Lin, who did Fatal Attraction. I think I was expecting a different movie, because if you remember the poster is like Demi and Woody and in this sexual passionate embrace.
Yes.
And there's the tear down the poster and it's Robert Redford staring.
Yep.
It's not that kind of movie at all. And I was a little bored and not super into it. It was also written by Amy Holden Jones, who did Mystic Pizza. It didn't feel like that didn't like Mystic
totally
Pizza at all.
Vibe.
But I was not a fan of this movie, and I mentioned this before, which is why I like when we do these things, when we revisit things we weren't crazy about. So, Christina, how about you? What was your take on it then?
Well, I definitely didn't watch it in a movie theater.
Okay.
I watched it on video. But my feelings about it were very similar to yours. I expected it to be something way different than what it ended up being.
Yeah.
And I also felt like it was very long. I felt like it took a turn that it shouldn't have. I didn't think it was necessary. And the whole time I was watching it, maybe not the whole time, but certainly after I watched it, I just felt like they could have done it so much better. They could have delved into so many other different aspects, but they didn't. And it ended up confusing and why did they do it this way? And I had a lot of problems with it. So I did not really love this movie either. Did not like it at all, actually. So here we are.
And now we'll get into
It was 93, so that was
30 years this year.
ago.
30 years this year. April 6th, 1993. All right,
Wow.
So now, I don't know if I've ever seen a movie do this, but it had a double narration. David and Diana.
Yes.
Woody Harrelson and Demi
Which
Moore.
I had forgotten about.
Both narrating the beginning of this movie.
Sure. And throughout. They're in it all. They're narrating throughout. It's not enough for us to watch this story, but they need to tell us the story as well.
Narration is one of those tricky things. Usually, as we get older, we realize that too much narration just means the script isn't that great.
Correct.
Okay, so my first note is, and I will say, to be older now, to be in a long-term marriage, I have a lot of feelings about this movie.
Yes.
I think something you mentioned, there are so many angles and approaches to take to this type of topic. But right off the bat, this couple, wow, would I never invite them to a party? Would I never I would never want to double date with them.
No.
They have such poor communication skills. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it
Nope.
on screen. My first note is this is a lot of emotion over laundry day. Diana is fucking crazy, needy, and abusive, and I'm going to support it right now. Needy. She lays in front of him when he's working, takes his hand, and puts it on her boob.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not needy at all.
Well, isn't that what you do when you're in the mood?
Well,
Ryan?
I will say, sometimes.
Wow. Well, this podcast took a turn.
So it was like, when a cuddle becomes more, that's usually the move. But it's fine.
Yeah, they weren't cuddling.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what
She's
I mean.
needy. This is wrong. If I'm working, if Carl's working, absolutely not. That's so disrespectful.
It's like such a Carrie Bradshaw move.
So needy. That's right. So disrespectful. And then abusive. Throwing boots at him. Threatening to stab him with a peanut butter knife.
Yeah.
Right? And then nuts being that little... Did I ever tell you that I love you?
Every time that phrase was uttered, I wanted to throw up on myself.
Well, and it's done a couple times.
Constantly and so predictably.
Well, and that's nuts. It's because here's why. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. This is like the weirdest. This is such an odd, crazy ass relationship. They should not be together. And This is a really hard place to start with a movie like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to be honest, like, you would almost think it would make it more interesting, and it just doesn't. Right? Because it's like meaning, if you had this solid, amazing relationship, and then you have this interesting thing, this opportunity happen, that could be probably interesting. But to have this jaded, kind of
but
weird...
don't you feel like they're presenting it as
a
if
perfect
they
relationship.
are a perfect relationship?
Completely.
Like, that's one of the problems I had with it.
Yeah.
Is
They have an
presenting
amazing love story.
themselves
Yeah.
as a solid couple who have been in love since the moment they saw each other. Although wasn't she like a friend of the person she was dating?
She also, remember, she fucked Bubba.
Yeah.
So
she fucked Bubba. Boy, that Bubba. But that's the problem I had. Well, I have many problems with this movie. But this is one of the bigger problems, is they're presenting themselves as having a strong relationship, but it is not a strong relationship. It is a terribly toxic, codependent relationship.
1,000.
Without, like you said, without the communication. The fact that they've been married for how many years were they supposed to be married? They got married when they were like 14 or something, like really young.
So in this movie, they're early 30s. So Demi's 30, Woody is 31.
And they eloped, so they were like, 18 or something?
Yeah.
Whatever. So they've been
12
married
years.
for 12 years.
Yeah.
And this is how she wants him to pick up his things? Like, she's running around the house like a mad woman, throwing things. I'm sorry, even when I'm at my most annoyed.
You're most
Thank
annoyed.
you.
Yeah.
My most annoyed. I'm not running around in front of Mac, grabbing his socks and throwing them in the... Like, no.
Because you're not crazy.
No. I would be like, I'm not picking up those socks. You know what I mean? Like, he does most of the laundry, honestly. Truth be told. He might be walking around the house throwing my socks at me. But no, I mean, you don't do that as... And you've been together for so long. Like, you know each other's nuances. So you should know how to communicate with each other, whether it's bad or good. You should know how to communicate at this point.
You adapt or abort. You get the feeling that he's always like this and that she's always like this. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
This is not a great relationship. The movie is trying to tell us they have a great relationship, but you're watching it with your own eyes. And to be older now, and for us to both be married, to be in committed, loving marriages, like, you can see how completely toxic this relationship is.
Yes, it goes from fight to hot sex.
Yeah.
Fight to hot sex. Sad to hot sex. So their whole relationship is based on sex.
Yeah.
I mean, they almost let the kitchen burn down. There was smoking. There was wasn't there something on fire or something on top of the
laundry.
stove?
Wasn't it laundry?
Yeah, right, because she was throwing the laundry at it. And they're in the middle of, laid out on the floor, gross, and had sex. That's the other thing. They're gross.
They are gross. And also, you would think that because they're so sexually charged, that this story would be more interesting because it's just sex. Like, they're all about sex. The one calm conversation they have is who they had sex with.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's like, that you would think would make this more interesting. Maybe lower the stakes in some ways, raise the stakes in others, and it just doesn't. This is really bad. And most of my notes hover around this idea. First of all, the only positive I have, I shouldn't say that, for Pages is, Demi Moore is gorgeous.
She's beautiful.
She looks beautiful in this movie. I think she has some good moments, but wow.
But the problem with that is, yes, I agree. She looks beautiful and she does have some good moments. The problem with her is her character is so awful.
She is it's almost like, Christine, at one point in my notes, I was like, I feel like, I have to find it. At one point I paused and I wrote, how many lines of dialogue does Demi Moore even have in this movie?
She has no voice in this movie.
There is a point, and I think it's which fucking blew my mind, even worse than it did then. She just ends up with Robert Redford.
Right.
How did that happen?
I don't understand.
We missed five. We must have missed like 5 scenes of this movie.
There had to have been at least 5 deleted scenes.
Yeah.
Because that, again, I remember back then, and that's what I was alluding to too. And I'm sorry, you're in the middle of a thought, but that was what I was alluding to when I was talking about in the past, like these twists and turns that shouldn't have happened. She never should have dated him. She never should have gone out with him. There was nothing really appealing about him to begin with. That's the whole thing. It's like, why are you going with him? I can understand your relationship falling apart, but why are you going to him?
That moment when they're in the room together in his house, she's like, oh, you live here. She knew that. He tells her this story about this woman on the train, right? Oh my God, I know. Apparently that was, Demi Moore didn't know Robert Redford was going to do that story, right? So, but here's the thing. We talked about that with Sleepless in Seattle.
Yes.
So Robert Redford is pouring his heart out to Demi Moore about the one that got away.
Yeah.
Okay? That makes Demi Moore cry and like the Robert Redford character. That is the biggest bag of bullshit because you're liking him because of how he felt about another woman.
Right.
Why? That is not life. That is not real.
No, that's not real.
Give me a break. And we're supposed to believe that that's why she liked him.
I wouldn't like people less because I would feel like that's a lot to live up to.
1,000%.
Right.
And also, I'm jumping so bad and
that's
I'm sorry.
Okay. I haven't even looked
Where
at
is her? This movie made me so mad. Where is Diana's anger? Where is
her voice?
But why is David allowed to be mad at Diana? Why isn't Diana mad at David? By the way, can we remind everyone, Robert Redford, John Gage, he made the bet with David. He didn't make the bet with Diana.
No, she had no voice in this.
None.
This is another huge issue I have with this movie. Mm-hmm. She is treated like a piece of property.
Yep.
There is in this whole movie.
I would argue there's about 20 minutes which doesn't have a line of dialogue.
I'm sure.
I made the note. I was like, did she just stop speaking after a certain point? It was weird.
It's a bet between the two guys.
Yep.
And Demi Moore is just sitting here like, okay, well, all right. And then even after they break up, it's the same idea. It's like, so she goes with him, but why? Like, she doesn't have a life of her own.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be a real estate agent.
Right.
I don't understand why they wrote her as a person that needs to be with somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
She seems...
It's bizarre.
So we are reminded that there is a recession. People aren't running to buy houses. Right. So she's in this sort of precarious thing, if we want to go along with this at all.
Yeah.
That, and here's this, hot ticket millionaire, billionaire guy who is looking for a really expensive house, which is bullshit.
Yes.
Because he has her look at his own house.
Everything out of his mouth is a fucking lie. Everything he does is irresponsible. He's making $1 million bets, $100,000 bets.
Which, is that even a bet? Is this even a bet? It's like
No.
it's like Vegas, bets, gambling.
Right,
Isn't
right,
it
right.
like what gambling? I guess they're gambling the safety of their marriage. But is this just a transaction?
No.
I struggled so much with this movie
Me too.
because it's like, Christina, I feel like if you are in dire straits, so it's a couple things. You're in dire straits. You need money fast. You don't have a pot to piss in. You lost everything in Vegas.
Yep.
I will say I did like the Vegas scenes when they're losing. I thought that
Yes.
the acting was very strong. Fine, but so you have the situation and then this opportunity, and they talk so much about sex. They have so much sex that it's like, like to me, I feel like they're the people that would be like, just fuck them.
Yeah.
Just fuck them. We'll laugh about it.
Right.
Fuck that old guy. Who cares? It's gross. It'll be
Right.
gross. We'll laugh about it. Instead, they do the opposite. We will never talk about this. They talk about sex all the time. They
Yeah.
talk about who they
That's
slept
their whole
with.
relationship is based
And
on
then sex. So that's what I mean by communication. Like that was such a weird thing for the screenplay to be like, they're gonna make a deal where they're not allowed to discuss it. That's exactly what they shouldn't be doing. They should be talking about it to the point where they laugh about it. Get it all out there. Oh, was he good in bed? You know what? For an old guy, he was kind of good in bed. What did he do?
Right.
I'll show you what he did. Let's have some fun right now. Like, no. Instead, it goes
It's so right
180
off
in
the
the
rails.
other direction.
It's just so bizarre. Here's how we could have fixed this whole thing. At the very beginning, when she's holding up the dress
Yeah.
and the mirror, and then you see him gawking and saying, "Oh, it looks nice on you. Let me buy you that dress." Oh, no. And then she says all these amazing dialogue.
The dress
let's
is
see.
for sale. I'm not.
Yes. Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. Because he's like, I enjoyed watching you. You earned it.
Oh, gross.
And then she says, the dress is for sale, but I'm not. And then I wrote, we'll see. But here's the thing. She needs $5,000. That's the gold. That's the magic number throughout this whole movie.
No.
No, she needed $5,000. They needed $5,000 to get out of debt for their house.
No, 50. No, it was, I swear to God, here's why. So they had $5,000 from his
Oh, they had
dad.
$5,000. Right.
They were going to turn 5,000 into 50.
Oh, okay.
Day one, they made 22,000. Another day like that, they would make 50. They needed 50.
Right. Okay.
Sorry, just to be clear.
So when she's before all the winning and all that, it's
Yeah.
before they even started. I think
Mm-hmm.
he was doing something maybe, and he sees her with the dress.
Yeah.
He wants to buy this dress for her, and she says no. You looked at the price tag. It's $5,000.
Return it.
Buy the goddamn dress and return it. Exactly. He's not asking you to anything else. He's not.
Right.
He's saying you earn it. Okay, fine. You feel like I earned that? I'll be happy to take that dress. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Have a nice day. And then I would be returning it for $5,000. And then I would be talking to my husband, David, look, we have $10,000 now.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, these people are so damn stupid.
They're so stupid. When he says $1 million for sex, I'm like, well, let's say I only need 50,000. How about I just give you a hand job? How about a blow job for 200,000? Like, why don't they negotiate? Like if they're like, and why is? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I'm older now. Is it this big of a deal? Like, I don't know if you're that desperate. Like,
but they had a shitty relationship. We
they did. That's
that,
true.
Right?
That's true. Yeah.
So they think they have a good relationship, but they don't. So there's I think the underlying thing. But no, I know it's $1 million.
I feel like this is a no-brainer
So
for
here's the other
for a
thing.
couple like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here's the other thing. All right. So they got a contract together,
Yeah.
which was smart.
I like that too.
I
actually.
really
Yeah.
I was happy that they did that.
Yeah.
However, first of all, John doesn't have a lawyer. John Gage.
Oh, right.
Which he's a bazillionaire.
Yeah.
Of course he has a lawyer.
Absolutely.
He's the one that would write up the contract,
Yeah.
not this Joe Schmo on the side of the street. So what I thought was interesting was it all had stuff to do with the money, but there was nothing in the contract that said anything about the sexual stipulations. There was no so you're not going to put in there that you can't do anything kinky,
or you have to wear a condom.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to wear a condom.
90s.
Or it's only with him, or there's no
No
pictures.
one can watch, right? Video.
No, I'm all just gonna say. So if they were smart about it, which of course we know now,
They're
of course
not.
they're not.
Yeah.
They should have had, if they're making this decision, right?
Yeah.
So, you and I are married, and I decide, okay, fine,
Yeah.
I will sleep with him. But let's talk about the guidelines.
Christina,
that
I would sleep with him too.
Amazing.
And you
But
wouldn't have to pay me.
$2 million. As long as it wasn't at the same time. But they could have had a conversation. Again, no communication skills with this couple.
Terrible.
They could have had a conversation to be like, okay, what can we do to make it as comfortable for both of us?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe no kissing because it's too personal. I mean, even
Right.
Julia Roberts, the hooker, didn't kiss. And she only got how much? $10,000 or something? What'd she get?
Vivian in Pretty Woman is smarter than these people.
No kidding,
Yeah.
right? So, but she could have said, okay, and then, only a certain position or blah, 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 blah. And, again, negotiating.
Yeah.
Negotiating.
Missionary.
And then he knows what to expect. He knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not like this huge mystery of everything.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, be like, okay, well, yeah, there was no kissing. It was just mechanical. It was just, he was in and out, and that was that, and blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And
Oh, yeah, there should be a time limit, too.
Oh, yeah,
Like, if they're
time
going,
limit.
because he's an older man, if he's like, you know what, let's take a little break. It's like, nope.
Nope. Well, there was that clause in there, right? There was that one clause in there in case he couldn't get it up.
Oh, yes. Yeah. What
So
I
that
mean
was-
is, like, he just gets tired.
But yeah.
And then, yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like, there should have been a little bit more in that contract.
This could have been such a good movie.
It could have been. That's
They
what bothers
could have-
me about it.
They could have done this where you feel bad for Robert Redford. How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
How about this couple is so greedy? They're actually good at it. They're actually good at this. And like, okay, yeah, bye. But he can't forget her. He can't get over her.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been much more interesting.
Oh
like
my
he
God.
thinks he has all the power, but he falls in love.
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Amazing. And she just goes back
And then
like
he goes
nothing
crazy.
happened. Like you said,
Then
they're
it's a
joking
fatal
around
attraction.
about it.
Yeah.
And then you see him, and he has all this money. He's trying to get in there. He's trying to buy
Yeah.
the house back. And she's like, nope, I'm all set.
Mhm.
And then maybe they manipulate him in some way
Yeah.
at the end or whatever. That would have been so much more interesting. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But instead, we have this like terrible couple who shouldn't be married in the first place. They make this terrible bet. That's the other thing. All these bets. It reminded me of what was the movie that we revisited recently? Cocktail.
Oh
When
my
they
God.
kept making bets and they were like the worst bets
That's
ever. I'm like,
awful.
and you lose. You keep losing.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Reminded me of that, where they just keep betting and betting and betting and betting. And I'm like, what in the fuck?
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. But so we could have had a totally different movie. And instead, we had this where she has no voice, and she does prove to be just someone that's bought and sold.
Mm-hmm.
Because even at the end, and I'm sorry, I'm skipping to the end.
No,
but even
yeah.
at the end, when for some weird reason, she needs his permission to break up with him. Right? They're supposed to be in a relationship, and he's, all of a sudden he has this insight, like, oh, she's never going to look at me like that. Like, he gives a shit.
Yeah.
And so he's, oh, you're the best out of all of them. And now somehow that gives her permission to be mad at him, to leave. Why can't she just leave?
And that was a lie, right? Like,
yeah.
That was a lie. He was
Yeah.
lying to her just
Yes.
to soften the blow.
Yeah, he was giving her permission to leave him.
Yeah, because she has no voice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So fucking crazy.
So many little notes like, wow, that hotel room was hideous.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
hideous.
It was supposed to be like those.
The nicest room in the
Yeah.
place. Having sex on dirty money. I just wrote, did they ever see Showgirls?
I wrote yuck. I said rolling around in a dirty money. Not only that, they had sex on the kitchen floor. They had sex on a bathroom floor in their
Right.
house.
Yeah.
I'm like, yuck, yuck, yuck. Every time they have sex, it's gross.
Billy Bob Thornton shows up. That was cute.
Oh yeah.
I did love the shot of Demi Moore reaching for the chips when they lose. Like she tries to pull them back.
That was something. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty
effective.
well
There were a
done.
couple of
Effective.
like when you said when they're losing.
I love that whole
those
sequence.
were the strongest scenes.
The acting, Woody Harrelson and Demi Moore, very strong acting in that whole losing sequence. Sheena Easton pops up. Why not?
Who does?
Sheena Easton.
Oh, Sheena Easton! Oh my gosh,
piano,
that's right.
yeah.
Yes, that was funny to see her.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of the dialogue, the guy's standing next to David, and what was her name?
Diana.
Oh, did she have a name?
Diana.
Imagine it was just like
Woman. Diana.
Sold woman.
Product.
Product. And they're seeing John Gage for the first time, Robert Redford.
Yep.
And he goes, he must get more pussy than you can shake a stick at. And then he looks, he goes, sorry, didn't mean to offend. Like, what? You're saying, what? How did you not mean to offend? Who's not going to be offended by that statement?
There's a point where he says, John Cage says, $1 million will be put into your casino account. I don't know what made me think of it. I was like, imagine after they have sex, he's like, so you're going to be getting hotel credit for buffet meals and in the gift shops.
$1 million. You can get as many of those dresses as you like.
Because that's how stupid they are. It's like
they
cash.
are so stupid.
Yeah, give me a break.
Yeah.
So I wrote, why wouldn't John Gage? I feel like John Gage would have just have given her, like, after she helped him win those the roulette wheel, whatever, like, I feel like he's the personality that would have just given her $100,000 for her help anyway. Mm-hmm. That's all they really needed anyway.
Just one of those chips.
Even as a gesture.
She could have just put it in her pocket. He wouldn't have noticed.
Oh my God, Christina.
He would not have noticed.
Christina, that's a really... What if that is what had happened and she swiped it from him? She got busted and said, listen, either I'll press charges if you sleep with me.
Oh my God, that would have been so much better. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Spend a week in a Vegas prison or sleep with me.
Or just
raise the stakes. Raise the stakes a little bit. It's so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just such lost opportunities. I did laugh when the lawyer said, for a woman like Diana, I could have got you $2 million.
Yeah, that was, Actually, I don't usually like Oliver Platt. I liked him in this.
He was good in this.
Diana isn't part of the conversation that completely involves her body and her dignity.
No
Not
voice.
At all.
No voice.
Not at all. She says, he's like, what would you say? And she's like, he'd tell you to go to hell. He's like, David, I'd tell you to go to hell. Yeah, it's like, of course, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Good thing Diana said it first.
Right. I did think it was pretty effective when David changed his mind. Like, I kind of felt that angst for him. Like, all of a sudden he was like, no, I can't. And he starts running through the hotel, like, trying to go back. I liked that. I actually did like that. I felt bad for him. I did feel bad for him at that
when
moment.
he runs up to the roof.
Running up to the roof was a bit much. But
when
okay, he was banging on the door and stuff like that. Yeah.
I agree and disagree. I liked when he ran up to the roof. Mm-hmm. I didn't really like when he was just running around like aimlessly. Like, I didn't really care for that. I thought it was they were just dragging it out a little bit too much. Let's see.
I have a little bit of interesting trivia
Let's hear it.
That I think Matt, he didn't watch the whole movie with me, but he was kind of I think he saw some of it. But so he's an architect, as you know, and he went to see this movie with a bunch of his architect friends, apparently. And he said he was very surprised because he's like, okay, there's a chair in David and Diana's garage.
Okay.
And it's a very interesting looking chair. It's all like, it almost looks like it's made out of cardboard, like different. Okay. It's a very famous chair by Frank Gehry. Okay. It's worth $25,000. And so when he was watching this movie, he's like,
the chair. Yeah.
He's like, that chair is worth $25,000.
Yeah.
Like, what?
That's really
Isn't that
bad.
funny?
That's so funny.
So I felt like that. I'm like, wow, I had no idea. And of course, you and I would not know that.
No,
right?
no. Well, I would know. I mean, I know like wishbone chair. I mean, I worked at the design center in New York for a while. Like, I would know. I didn't catch that chair though at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's amazing.
Yeah.
I wrote maybe have a little bit of a sense of humor about it. Like, she comes home, and she is still wearing the lipstick from the night before. And he
Yeah.
smears it all over her face, like cleaning her lips away to kiss her. But it's like, like, to me, that's not the scene. To me, it would be her coming in being like, oh my God, he was such a freak. He dressed me up like a, not a geisha girl, but like, I can't remember that, but it was very Asian inspired, right?
Yes.
So her hair was done in a certain way with like chopsticks in it. Like, it's like, that's what you walk in saying like, oh my God, David, you don't even know what a freak. Like, you don't look and going, like, it's like, I mean, come on, you weren't attacked.
Or you could, no, it was
like,
fine.
yeah, come on.
It was nice.
And she liked it, by the way.
I did like the fact that they didn't show it.
I like that too. I was fine with that.
I liked that. In fact, you could have actually assumed it didn't happen. I mean, and here's the other thing about that. If she feels like he is so upset about it, why doesn't she just say it was terrible? She goes, oh, it was awful. He had like a saggy ass. Yeah. And it was terrible. It was over in 2 seconds.
Couldn't get it up. Yep, couldn't get it up.
Yep.
How about that? Couldn't get it up, but he paid me. He gave me money anyway.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything.
Done. And then he has his manlyhood back, and she can just, I mean, who cares if it was great? Like, he doesn't have to know that. Yeah. I thought that was kind of stupid. And how gross to be like walking back. And did they have sex right then? Because doesn't he already, like, did she shower?
Clearly not if she still has the lipstick
gross.
on.
So she has 2 different men's sperm inside of her at one point in time. I mean, that is disgusting.
Well, I hope he wore a condom.
I would hope so too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't even know. But my notes, and then that's all around that time when I wrote, I feel like their marriage is lacking in some really basic communication skills and trust issues.
Well, he says, I don't trust you.
Yeah. And then she says, thank you for your trust and for listening, David. And I wrote, no shit.
Yeah, that was like her best line.
I wrote, the kind of people that would go through with this wouldn't, oh wait, let me read this out. The kind of people that would go through with this wouldn't automatically tie love to sex anyway. Yeah. What we know about them is that sex and love are kind of disconnected anyway, because they seem to have sex when they fight. Yes. And so that's what I mean. Like, it's just, there's no through line with what makes this couple tick. They're really damaged. And it just is that same, and it's because so much of the movie is that hangs on this one incident. Yep. It just is the same conversations over and over. The same.
Well, and also, like, I know we have a million different ways to go in this storyline. Yeah. But, they talk about how they were young and they got married early and the parents didn't approve. And then, they elope and they clearly have like a terrible relationship with communication and all that kind of stuff. What if, like, this did break their marriage up, but then they actually kind of healed their relationship because of it and realized all the problems because of this particular moment? Like, they could have actually had some insight about how terrible the relationship was before and either went their separate ways, which is what I would have preferred, or, worked on repairing the relationship. Do you know what I mean? Like, used it as a way to understand how bad their relationship was before. And
the communication only gets worse.
Yes,
it does. It only gets worse, to your point, worse. Because he can't shake it. Somehow along the line he forgot it was his approval of the idea. Yeah. He takes zero responsibility. He at one point blames his lawyer. Yeah. Like David doesn't. He seems to forget that the deal was with him, not with Diana.
No, it wasn't
terrible. He's so mad at her. She doesn't really get mad at him. It's insane to me. Mm-hmm. And I keep thinking they would be better off apart.
Yes. I have a note here. When did they get a dog?
Oh, I remember the dog. Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, in the beginning, yeah. 'Cause I think the dog's watching them have sex at one point.
Oh, okay.
Suddenly, neither of them want the money. I wrote, that's real mature, guys.
No, you take it. No, you take it. No, you take
it.
Well, she doesn't need it anymore because she's with what's-her-face.
But she totally needs it. I mean, she needs the money. They need the money.
What does she care? She doesn't have a voice.
But they don't end up together. they're weird. Like, we talked about this with Reality Bites.
Oh, at the end, you mean? Yeah.
And how cynical I felt, and we felt. I don't want to throw you into that, but we really were not rooting for them.
No.
Here's something where this relationship, talk about bad to worse, because not only did they go through this indecent proposal,
yes,
but he, and this is how stupid he is, bets everything on the picture of the hippos for charity, so he can't get the money back. But it's like, wouldn't it have been more interesting, and I think this would have been better. I mean, there's so many things that would have made this better. If he bid $1 more than John Gage's bet,
that would have been awesome.
And then just keep the rest of the money. Like, it's all about fucking people. This whole movie is like fucking fucking people over, emotionally and all this kind of stuff. So it's like, just fuck John Gage over by $1. Just like annoy him enough. Don't bet everything. You and your wife don't have a pot to piss in. Now you're really screwed. You have nothing. And chances are David has probably been spending some money because he's been unemployed.
You would think so.
It's unclear how long they've been apart. But even a month,
so unclear. With
even a month of expenses, say a couple $1,000, that money is coming from that $1 million.
Well, didn't he have to buy his house back? Oh no, because John Gage
he couldn't buy it back.
Right.
That's but isn't that? But Christina, to that point, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Because they were going to use the money right away to buy the house. Mm-hmm. Then he couldn't, so he's like, "Oh, forget it. I just want Diana back." It's like you're back to square one.
You're gonna have to sell her again.
And by the way, now you have to live with this awful scandal.
Yes.
And you're broke. At least before you were rich with a scandal. Now you're broke with a scandal. That sucks.
Yeah, it's terrible. And then I wrote at one point, I'm like, okay, so I said, I don't understand what is happening now. Because she's with him, and I'm like, are we supposed to care about David's career now? Because now all of a sudden he's in like a board meeting, and I'm like, what is fucking happening right now?
Teaching students.
Like, who cares about any of this anymore? This movie needs to end.
Well, Christina, I wrote, I LOL'd a couple times. I love when he's going through the slides and there's a picture of Diana, and the picture's not even flattering, and it's so bad. And then he said to the class, he's like, even a brick wants to be something. And I wrote, okay, Pocahontas.
Right?
Like, come on, even bricks have feelings now? I laughed out loud. This is so funny.
Oh, my God.
And it did hit me a little more like the day after. I was playing it back. So John Gage tells Diana the story about the woman on the train, right?
Yes.
And it's like, it's like his unrequited love story that never happened. It's like, you know what, sweetie? Diana had a love story too, and you fucked that up.
Right.
But you would never know because Diana's not allowed to speak in this movie.
Right. We don't even know.
How is she feeling? Oh my God. Awful.
It is so awful. So awful.
Holy shit. David's ripping up pictures of Diana. Like, that's extreme.
Are you 10 years old?
Really?
Come on.
Really?
And here's the other thing. He's ripping up all these pictures. I feel like there's a couple deleted scenes there, too. Mm-hmm. Like, all of a sudden, he wants to be with her again?
Yeah.
It was so bizarre. The way that this movie was written, it was so bizarre. Like, I felt like he was moving on. He was getting his career. He was da-da-da-da. Okay, fine. He's actually getting a little bit there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he shows up at the auction out of the blue to buy these hippos. It's so weird. And then the end, we talked about the scene in the car. Yeah. I'm like, I don't understand why she needed an excuse to leave him. Again, it's like she's the property and he's letting her go. So fucking crazy. But then, oh, how lucky for her, a bus showed up at the moment she was getting out of the car. She hops on. Does she have money for the bus? She doesn't. I didn't see a purse.
And also, she's rich now. Rich people never have change.
No, of course
she doesn't have change on her.
She doesn't even know how to manage money. Forget about have like a change purse. 2 minutes ago, she wanted a divorce. 2 minutes ago in that movie. She was asking him for a divorce.
Also, that guy...
And then all of a sudden...
Because the movie told her to. That's why.
That's
She can't think for herself.
She gets in the car. He says she can leave. And now they live happily ever after? Is that how that works?
My God. And I have a couple more notes before we get to that moment.
I'm sorry.
So I just wrote, I groaned when he bit on the hippos. I wrote, why, and again, I'm just repeating myself a little
stupid.
bit, but why all of it? And then I forgot that I wrote that. Did he forget the last time he bet on something?
Right?
Why? His judgment is so flawed.
And a live thing, right? Like, it's actually another, like, soul. He should be selling his own soul.
So here's where this movie is like cheap and manipulative and all the bad things. I just wrote the ending is so pretty, so atmospheric, and so stupid.
And so predictable. I said the line before she did.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you I love you? Do you want to do it right now? Do you remember how it goes?
Oh, God,
Did I ever tell you I love you? He
No.
says no. I do.
What did he say after that?
Still?
Still, yeah.
No, he says still? Question mark?
Still?
Always. And I'm telling you, they hold hands, that's how it ends, right? They don't even hug. They hold hands over the bench.
Yeah.
I swear to God, my bet is that they filmed it where they hug and kiss, and audiences are probably like, that's bullshit. Mm-hmm. Because I think we would have thrown up if they embraced at the end. Yep. I think like the hand, you know what? I'm fine with the hands because they can't even look each other in the face right now.
They don't belong together. Everybody knows that.
They don't belong together. It's a tragedy. I will say, the end credits, there's a song by Roy Orbison called A Love So Beautiful. I think that's a great song.
Aww.
Yeah, I really do. I like that song a lot. And Michael Bolton covered it. And then Roy Orbison did a version with the one of the Philharmonic orchestras. Beautiful. But I really do love that song. And I do think there are many shots that are gorgeous. The movie looks beautiful often.
Yes.
But dumb. They could have had
everything.
This could have been so entertaining. This could have been so quirky and funny too. Like, there's never even a moment where they crack a joke about it. It's like, you had sex with a 60-year-old man for $1 million. Like, have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And by
Everybody
the way,
needs to just calm down and relax.
Right.
And just see it for what it is and just move on.
by the way, it's fucking Robert Redford.
And it's Robert Redford.
He's handsome. He's relatively clean. Like, it's clearly he's lying about this $1 million club. He's trying to make it easier for her to go back to him. He feels guilty. Mm-hmm. I did laugh, actually, when his right-hand man, Cleveland, whatever his name is like, I forget what his name is, but he's like, the woman who kept hiccuping, and he's like, oh yes, the hiccuping. Like, that was cute.
Yeah,
like,
it was cute.
Yeah, there were some cute things, but wow. So the big question, Christina.
Thank God.
Oh wait, I have some notes actually. So the music, a little bit overdone.
Yes.
Did it sound familiar at all? So it's by John Barry. He did Somewhere in Time.
So I feel like at one point it sounded more like Jurassic Park.
A little bit.
Okay.
He did Out of Africa.
Okay.
And Peggy Sue Got Married. This movie was made for $38 million. Probably most of that went to Demi Moore because this is after Ghost.
Well, what about Robert Redford? Probably
a little bit, but he's not in it all that much. $38 million. It made. Are you ready? I would not have guessed this.
Oh boy.
Do you want to guess how much it made? Was it a hit or not a hit?
I feel like since you're saying it this way, I bet it was a hit.
$270 million.
What the hell?
Can you believe that? I mean,
that's really something.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
It was originally designed with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman in mind, with Warren Beatty playing John Gage.
Yeah.
Robert Redford made up.
I think that would have worked.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Robert Redford made up the girl on the train speech. Some said it's very similar or too similar to the Citizen Kane girl on the ferry speech. Demi Moore's tears were allegedly real in that scene. Christina, the big question: Moore before we get to our match game. More, less, or about the same?
Well, I really did not like it back then.
Yeah.
And I think I liked it even less. I think I liked it even less. As an adult, watching this in, like you said, in a healthy relationship, it just was so bad. And it's like you said, like there's so many different ways it could have gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept looking at it and being like, why did they do this? Why did they do this? And just so much was bad about it. I mean, so bad. So I think less. Definitely less.
So really funny. I had the same, because I remember I really didn't like it. I thought it was boring, slow, dumb, predictable, all that. I think through my middle-aged lens, I think I appreciate the cinematography. I think it looks really beautiful. And there are some nice little bits of Demi Moore's acting. I think it's funny, as I watch more of Demi Moore things for this podcast, I'm like, I think she's a little underrated.
Yeah.
When you watch certain things she does. But this movie is dumb, so it's actually less for me too.
Oh,
it just didn't even scratch the surface to make it more interesting. It just seemed like it was like, I have this one sentence idea, and they didn't even put any real thought into how this could have been interesting.
No, you're absolutely right.
So a little less for me. Ready for a match game?
Yes, I am.
Well, another member of the $1 Million Club was Dumb Dora, and we know, Christina, Dumb Dora is so dumb.
How dumb is she?
Well, when John Gage invited her up to his hotel room and said, "Let's be naughty," she blanked the sheets.
She blanked the sheets?
Yes.
Oh, God, I was going to go one way, and now I'm not.
What did you think I was going to say?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was going to go one way, and now I'm thinking. No, I'm just going to do it. I'm done. Ding.
All right, she blanked the sheets.
She shit the sheets.
So not even I was torn between ripped up and stole. I went with stole.
Oh, okay.
Stole the sheets. That's very naughty.
Well, when you said naughty, I was thinking knots.
Like,
and I'm like, I almost wrote tied it tied
oh,
them up.
Funny. Okay.
I was almost gonna say like she tied them up, and then I was like, well, I don't know, maybe she just like pooped all over them. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Gross.
I have my match game.
Okay, exciting.
All right, so once they got back together, a lot has changed for David and Diana.
You keep forgetting her name.
I do. Well, she didn't have much of a presence. So he even changed his saying to her.
Oh, no.
His famous saying. Instead of saying, "Have I ever told you I love you?" he now says, "Have I ever told you I blank?"
Ding.
Ding. All right. So he doesn't say, "Have I ever told you I love you?" He now says, "Have I ever told you I
judge you?"
Oh, that's good. I love that. I said sold.
That's good.
Have I ever told you I sold you?
Oh my God. And that is Indecent Proposal. And that's it for us and for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thank you for listening. Please remember to follow us on Instagram or YouTube, where we have our episodes as well as a little extra.
And if you have any questions about our show, any suggestions for movies we could revisit, reach out to us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
Thanks again for listening.
This is Brian.
And this is Christina. Until next time.